Hello there YouTube, I haven't done a video in a while. So it's Saturday morning, I'm tired, so I'm going to do breakfast and espresso. One of my viewers on one of my cast iron videos commented saying something to the effect of it's all fun and games until you cook an egg on it. So that's what we're going to do, we're going to cook an egg on it. I already have a splash of canola oil on there, off camera, put a little more on. We're going to get this thing heated up. There's not going to be any surprises here because I already cooked an egg on it earlier this week. But just so I can have documented proof for the individual that seemed to think that would be a bad thing to cook an egg on a skillet. I hope he doesn't intend for me to cook an egg on a cast iron skillet without any oil or butter on it, because that would be ridiculous, not only for the effect of flavor, but also I've tried that on a brand new non-stick skillet and it still makes a mess. So you gotta have butter or something on there. I like oil, it adds flavor. I like butter too, but we'll do canola oil. So while that's heating up, we're going to do the espresso thing. Got coffee from a local roaster, Kenya. No, I don't live in Kenya. The coffee's from Kenya. The roaster got the beans from Kenya and roasted them in Wisconsin. A little digital pocket scale. And I'm going to measure out 17 grams of beans to grind up. And as far as the skillet goes, we're going to heat that up until we start seeing smoke coming off of the oil, and then it'll be time to reduce the heat to half and then add the eggs. The grinder I've got here is a truly magnificent one. It is a Kinu M47, K-I-N-U. And if you've never heard of them and you like coffee, it's frankly the single greatest grinding thing ever. I think it would be far superior to electrics, except that you just have to crank by hand. But I can take this anywhere. I can go camping with it. But it is an incredibly solid, well-engineered and well-manufactured grinder from our friends in Germany. It is infinitely adjustable, which is a must. And we're starting to smoke here, so we're going to reduce the heat and throw some eggs on. Being infinitely adjustable is a must for grinding or we're doing espresso, because you want to be able to fine-tune the grind so that you have just enough pressure as you're pulling the shot, not too much, and to get all the flavor you can out of it. If you do not have an infinitely adjustable grinder, well, that's how I started with espresso, was with a very coarse adjustable grinder. There's the eggs. Cast iron skillet, eggs. About all the proof you need, right? I got 3 on there. They're looking great. You need to throw a whole bunch of pepper on there and salt. What is an egg without pepper? Alright, back to grinding. Grinder features a nice little step there so it doesn't rotate. You can grip onto something so it doesn't just rotate as you're trying to crank it. Nice little catch cup with a bunch of magnets all the way around it. How's the eggs doing here? Look at that, they just release right off of there. And they're pretty much done. I'm going to turn the heat off. And I need to separate these guys. And I know what you're thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to scratch his cast iron skillet seasoning by running that spatula against it. Yeah, I probably will. But guess what? It doesn't matter. Because I can just re-season it. And you know what? I'm cooking with canola oil, which is like one of the greatest seasoning oils there is, according to popular opinion. So I already am seasoning my skillet right now. Look at that, 3 magnificent eggs, no sticky anywhere. That's perfect. So to whatever individual commented, try cooking eggs on there. Done. They are perfect. Take my dedicated cast iron oily rag. A little warm. Done. That's why I love cast iron skillets. And yeah, I very minutely scratch the seasoning, but again, it doesn't matter. If I did that to my, Teflon non-stick skillet, it would be game over because then I'd be eating Teflon. It would start to flake off. Been there, done that. Let's get back to espresso because I really need that. So I'm using the Flair Classic Espresso Maker. It is a hand-operated espresso press, and it's pretty amazing. I bought this thing back in 2018. It hasn't been around very long, and this thing is totally a game changer. It's also kind of pretty too, from a design standpoint. So this espresso maker comes with brew head assemblies. This is the bottomless one, which is really good for dialing in the grind coarseness, because there's many things that you can learn by pulling a shot through one of these, namely whether it's too coarse, too fine. But when you have espresso uniformly coming out on the bottom of this thing, you're pretty much golden. So the whole brew head assembly goes together just like that, and then this is the piston. You have the espresso in there, tamped down gently. You fill it up to, there's a little line in there, fill it up with water, put the piston on there, put the whole thing on here with that underneath it for your espresso, and you press down. Also, if you're going to do a latte or something like that, and you want to do a flat white style, you can have your mug with milk already frothed in there when you go to pull your shot. I'm just doing a straight espresso this morning. So the Flair came with this funnel. So we take our espresso, M47. Jeez, this thing's amazing. And I've got this, which is like a mammoth toothpick. I just made this out of a piece of scrap pine and a very, very small plane that I got from my late grandfather. But you can do this with a regular toothpick. You're basically just stirring around the grounds in the portafilter here, just to make sure that there aren't any clumps, because when coffee is ground this fine, it tends to clump up, and we want to make sure we have a nice uniform distribution of grounds so that we have a nice uniform extraction. If you don't do that, then there's a potential for jetting, which is where you've got pockets in there and the water's going to take the path of least resistance and squirt out all over the sides. You ask me how I know. This thing I made. So the Flair does come with its own tamper, which is just a plastic one. But I figured, you know what, I got scrap firewood. This was back when I was living with my parents. And I just turned this on my lathe. And I'm pretty stinking proud of it. It's called buckthorn wood, which is an invasive species, so there's no shortage of it. Back by my parents, they clear cut a whole bunch of that stuff. This right here is an important point when it comes to tamping. You want to not use a lot of pressure. And I think it's important to always have as fine of a grind as you can get away with, just to ensure maximum extraction. So here's my method for preheating the brew head, because this is obviously a massive chunk of metal. It is therefore a pretty major heat sink. And you want to make sure that this is hot so that you don't end up with a cold shot of espresso. And it's really easy because I've got my electric kettle, got boiling water in there. I'm just filling this up, dump it back in. Do this 5 times. This also cools down the water in the kettle, because you don't necessarily want boiling water for your espresso shot. It could be over extracted, at least when it comes to this Flair. They say that 180 degrees is pretty ideal. I don't know if that's what I'm at, but so we have I put this on there, I didn't talk about it, but there's what's called a shower screen or dispersion screen in there. And basically that helps to make sure that the water doesn't splash all the grounds of espresso in there up when I carefully add water to this guy. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there is a clearly etched line on the wall, the inner wall of this brew head. That's where we fill it up to. Put our piston on, grab our shot glass. Alright, let's see how this works out. I never captured this on video. I'm going to pre-infuse for a few seconds. That's where I just add a little bit of pressure, and hopefully without getting in the way of the camera. hoping this looks amazing so that I come off as knowing what I'm doing. And there it is. And there's our espresso. Not too shabby. And some, yeah, cold eggs. I'm really bad at multitasking. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. You guys got to see me cook 3 eggs, fried very nicely on a cast iron skillet. Perfect. And you got to see me grind up and pull a shot of espresso using the Flair, which again, it is a beautiful and very functional tool. And we ground out the coffee with the Kinu M47. So please like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching, and let me know if you have any questions or comments down below. Take care. Thanks for watching.